My sister was sleeping with my boyfriend of 5 years.
I watched that 3-part story, so you don't have to. We're gonna name her Billy. Billy's telling us the story of how she found out her sister was actually sleeping with her man of 5 years. This all happened back in 2020, according to the screenshots. Billy was telling us that she has PCOS and that this causes hormonal fluctuations, and oftentimes around her cycle, she ends up having BV. And because of that, she has this suppository that she gets from a small business that she takes, and oftentimes within one day, it clears up her BV. She said this is important to the story, right? Her sister, who had moved away to California for 4 years, happened to move back home. We're gonna call her sister Terry. Terry calls up Billy one day, and she's like, hey girl, can you take me to the clinic? And Billy's like, what's going on? What happened? Terry's like, oh, I have like an odor downstairs. I just want to like get it checked out. And then Billy's like, oh, is it itching as well? Terry's like, no, I looked it up. I'm pretty sure it's BV. I just need to go get it cleared up. Billy's like, okay, no problem. She takes her over to the clinic, and sure enough, it's BV. About a month later, Billy gets her cycle, and then shortly after that, she ends up getting BV again. She doesn't think much of it because this is super normal to her. And so a few days later, though, her sister calls her and she's like, oh my God, I got BV again, which again, she didn't think much of. She's like, oh, you know what? Because we know it's BV, I'll just go ahead and give you these suppositories that I take. It works really well for me. Terry ends up asking her like, hey girl, like, why do you have these suppositories like on hand? And so she explains to her like, you know how I have PCOS, the hormonal fluctuation. She tells her the whole cycle. She's like, oh, okay, cool. So one day they're all in the house together, and Billy goes to take a shower. She comes out of the shower, she walks into the kitchen, and her man and her sister Terry are in there, and she said you can cut the tension with a knife. She said they were either talking about something that they shouldn't have been talking about, or they were doing something they shouldn't have been doing. So she asked them like, hey, what's going on? And they both like acted kind of weird, and they were like, oh, nothing. Immediately though, Billy's gut was telling her something was off. Her heart dropped into her stomach, her ears started ringing, she got like super clammy. She's like, nah, something's up. So a few days after that, Billy ends up getting BV again, and she thought that was really weird because it wasn't her cycle. So she's like, okay, something's off. So then Billy's talking to her mom, and her mom's like, hey, did you give your sister Terry some like suppositories for like BV or whatever? And Billy's like, yeah, I did, like I use them all the time. And the mom's like, I wonder if that stuff is like hereditary. Like I've only had it one time in college, but like I'm not too sure. Billy's like, yeah, I don't really know. So Billy decides to do a little experiment. She decides to clear up the BV that she currently had and not tell anybody that she had it. Her man ends up coming about an hour late home from work, stating that, oh, I had to work overtime or something like that. The very next day, Billy gets BV, and she's like, what the hell? Like, this is hella weird. So she decides to call up her sister and just like chop it up with her, and she's asking her like, oh, how are those pills doing? Like, how do you like them? Da-da-da. And the sister's like, oh my God, these are amazing. Like, they clear up my BV so quickly. So then Billy's probing a little bit, and she's like, hey, like, by the way, like, when's the last time you got BV? And then Terry's gonna go, oh, I got it like yesterday or the day before. So at this point, Billy's trying to keep her cool. She's like, oh, maybe it's something in the weather, I don't know. And Terry's like, yeah, I don't know, I never used to get these, and then all of a sudden, like, I keep getting them. So then 2 weeks later, the family ends up having a barbecue, and Terry was there with her kids. She ends up running out the house with her kids, trying to chase them down, and she leaves her phone behind, right? So Billy's curiosity is at an all-time high, so she decides to walk up to her sister's phone and look through it, and she immediately goes to conversation between Terry and her boyfriend, and she opens it up, and sure enough, the sister sends the boyfriend a photo of the suppositories, and she's like, yeah, this is what my sister gave me, but I don't know, I keep getting BV, I don't know why. And so then the boyfriend's like, oh, I'll figure it out for you. So then Terry replies back to the boyfriend, and she's like, I think you keep getting it from her and giving it to me, essentially. This confirms to Billy what she was already thinking. So the sister walks back into the kitchen, and it's just Terry and Billy standing in the kitchen. And at first, Terry didn't notice that her phone was missing. When she did notice that her phone was missing, she noticed that Billy was holding it. So she's like, why do you have my phone? And Billy's like, why are you talking to my man inappropriately? The sister's like, wait, what? What do you mean? I don't talk to him. I just text him sometimes about man problems. So then Billy's like, yeah, okay, whatever. And so Terry's like, give me my phone. And she's like, come get it. Terry's like, why are you being weird? Just give me my phone. She's like, nah, I'm not being weird. Come get your phone. But at that point, their mom walks in, right? And she notices that something's going on. So she's like, what's going on? Like, what's happening? She's trying to get information out of them. And so Billy starts being like, oh, ask your daughter why she's like talking to my man. And at this point, Billy still had the phone. So she just started reading the text messages out loud, right? The sister starts going crazy, like, no, don't read it, don't read it. And the minute the mom heard what the text messages were talking about, she smacks the sister straight in the face. And before the mom can finish smacking her daughter in the face, Billy had already made her way over there, and she was pouncing on top of her. And she said she blacked out at that moment. Nobody can stop them. But at the same time, the mom wasn't really trying to stop them. She was like calling for help, but also like, yeah, Terry, you should have been doing that in the first place anyway. Eventually, Billy's man comes in between them, pulls them apart. And at this point, Billy out loud starts saying what she found out in the text messages, accusing the boyfriend and the sister of sleeping with one another. She kicks out the boyfriend. She never speaks to him again. She never spoke to the sister ever again. The sister ended up moving back to California. The mom, of course, forgave her daughter and she ended up being cool with her daughter again, but Billy was like, nah, I'm good. In the last part, Billy did tell us she still gets BV because at the end of the day, the BV wasn't coming from the man. The BV was coming from her own body and the hormonal fluctuations, and she was giving it to her man who wasn't washing himself properly or taking oral antibiotics, and then giving it to the sister. And they were basically passing BV back and forth towards one another. She also clarified and said studies recently showed that BV is not an STI. She also said it can't be an STI because virgins can have it too. It can come from like personal hygiene, clothing, all types of different things. It doesn't just come from sexual interaction. But either way, she wanted to spread that information and also tell her story. I'm really sorry that you had to go through this. Family betrayal, I have learned, is probably the worst type of betrayal you can go through. Either way, you guys tagged me in this a bunch. I wanted to make sure I got it out to you guys. I hope you have a beautiful day. Bye.